They would use snippets of that song throughout the commercial to preview that particular artist that was coming up. And in most cases, that was a great move, especially if that particular artist was going to be at that particular club throughout the night or whatever. And what that would do on the commercial end, it would help them, obviously, to promote their club appearance or what have you, but it would also trigger the effects of the movement and, again, what the streets were saying, especially from local artists.
Right.
And I'll just speak from that perspective. There's more money, we know, that goes behind your national and international artists.
Right.
So that's a given. So strategically, from a local artist position, they would have to do more things like that or what have you to get their record played and to get more notice, because oftentimes, like Wayne alluded to, if the PD wasn't playing a particular song, based on the commercial that Wayne might have dropped off at the station and they're going to be at the club or what have you, that would actually trigger the PD to, take a listen to this particular artist. Why? Because now the streets are talking. The streets are talking, and now they've created a demand because they use that other outlet of going through the club first, getting with the DJ or whatever to play the song or what have you. Now, okay, he's going to be there Friday, Saturday night at this particular club, and people are calling in to get tickets or whatever. The other side of that is the promotions piece. Yeah, I worked in that department as well. When Wayne, again, would come to the station, we got the commercial going on or whatever, the promotional piece was me having the tickets that he would bring in for the nightclub to actually give away on air. So that was another piece of the equation or whatever for that particular artist, because 9 times out of 10, just say again that the PD is not playing the record yet. Maybe we haven't made that connection, but we strategically went through the club to get the club appearance. Now we got that going and we're building up a buzz from that aspect. Great. Now the on-air talent is familiar, because they're giving away tickets to the club event that Wayne has put together, whatever. And now the streets are talking. They're calling the receptionist at the front desk. Hey, can you get the record by such and such play? Who? Wait, who? Okay, I'm getting all these calls from individuals wanting this song or whatever. And then that's going to in turn for the PD to say who. And then he looks around in his stack of envelopes or whatever that he's gotten or whatever. Oh. And he takes a listen. So there were different drivers back then. If it didn't happen where I couldn't get the meeting with the PD, then the other network was going through the club. And between those two, it was definitely going to hit. But then you had to reinforce that strategically, through your marketing and your marketing campaigns that you had out there and who you were connected with relationship-wise to actually push what was going on. Because in a minute, once the PD grabs onto it, at that moment, you can't think about what we're going to do next. You have to be 2 steps ahead, because once the PD says, hey, I like this, back then for us, we were doing your mango festivals, your Goombay festivals, and different things like that, which offered different platforms for artists to perform on or what have you. So if the PD grabbed a hold to it, the next thing you know, we were putting you on different shows. And the other side of that is if you got to the PD first and we're playing your record, then the next thing they would do is reach out because of relationship to Wayne and say, hey, I got this artist, we got this song or whatever, we're loving it, the streets are talking, let's connect and do something in the club, and it'll be the station in conjunction with different promoters. So it was very familiar to do stuff like that. And most relationships, from like I said, the receptionist to your support staff, because the majority of my great friends came through my relationships and working I was working at the station and then working at the club on the door and stuff like that, because of relationships that were built with the different individuals in the industry back then. So
awesome.
It was a win-win.
Can I say one thing?
Sure, yeah, we want to open the floor.
I never went to 99 Jams without going by Freddie's office.
Yes.
So now,
Relationships.
I never went to 99. I don't care who I
We're
went to
good
see.
friends to date.
I ain't never went to 99 Jams without going to Freddie's office.
So, Darren, Ladies and gentlemen, this is Darren Woods of Everyday Praise Radio. You brought about a topic on where we were in a discussion, and you talked about the issues with radio, for gospel artists, what they need to do to basically get their music played. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Well, so all I've ever done was gospel music. I wasn't in on that other side. So no, I wasn't invited up there. All I ever did was gospel music all my life. So they're just similar steps, but they're different steps, right? So knowing what your brand of gospel music is, whether you are an urban hip hop gospel artist like Lecrae, whether you are an old school artist like the Woods or the Winans or Commission, you got to know your lane. And then we sung at every church in America. So, I mean, there was not a church that.
Right.
So people got to know us because, not just because we thought we could sing. We never thought we had a hit record. The streets told us we had a hit record. That wasn't our job to say we had a hit record. Our job was, if this church called us, be at this church, because you never know who's sitting in the seat at this church that could help get your record to the next level.
Right.
Our first hit record I was 7, 8 years old. They called me fool. They played for about 4 years on radio. Our next hit record, Jesus Loves You, was playing on WMBM, and a man that we thought was a crackhead had a relationship with RCA, Warner, Light Records, and Savoy, and we got a record deal with Savoy because he heard our record. He was just here for the summer, and he played the record, and he said, hey man, I don't know y'all don't know me, but y'all got a hit record. And 3 months later, we were signed to a deal with Savoy Record. So you got to be everywhere in gospel music, I said the other night, know your lane. I personally, unlike these guys, I didn't have, all we did was send our records to P3 stations, and we made relationships with the AM stations because gospel music wasn't playing during the week, all day. So I made relationships with Brother Lee at WEXY, Reverend R. McCall at MBM, and Sugar 900 that nobody knew in Belle Glade, and all they had was a 1,000-watt station. And, the people in Belle Glade knew Sugar 900, but if you wasn't a gospel music lover, you didn't know Sugar 900 and all the stations, those little stations.
Right.
That's the advantage of being in gospel music. You can target it more effectively, and we had a hit record in Birmingham, Alabama. We didn't know nobody in Birmingham, Alabama, and George Stewart called us and said, hey man, and then we met Ruben Studdard in Alabama before he was Ruben Studdard.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So things like that. So and then you gotta hit, lastly, you gotta hit these guilds, man. I'm just shocked that we only have like 6 people here with all this wealth of information.
Right.
If you really want to be in the business, you make the sacrifice to get up on a Saturday to come in what these guys gotta say.
Yes.
This free. You ever went to a Jack the Rapper conference? This is free.
Yes.
And if you ain't coming to this, and you know about it,
and you
really don't want to be in the game.
That's right.
And
That's right.
So, took my record to James T. He said, I know y'all Huey baby boys. I know, all right, fine. Record ain't never played, but that ain't stopped me. Went back a little while later, gave it to Maestro. He said, get in the car, turn the radio on. And we were the first South Florida artists to play on Noonday Prayer on 99 Jams. I mean, you don't know what God gonna do and who he gonna do it through.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
I saw Maestro at a barbecue stand. I said, man, look, man, I just got one wish. He said, what's that? I said, I want to be a DJ for a day. He said, come to the station on Sunday. Came to the station on Sunday. I was there for 4 years. because I wanted to be a DJ for a day. But it's all about relationships, everything that they say. So, and if you're in gospel music, I encourage you, find your way to North Carolina and go to the North Carolina Gospel Music Guild and be a performer. Look, you ain't got to do nobody else's guild. You do North Carolina. The North Carolina Guild for Gospel Music is like going to Live Miami and getting on what's that boy name? That dude Live Miami.
He did.
Yeah,
Revolt.
like getting on Revolt. I'm saying from a gospel music standpoint, going to the North Carolina Guild and performing at the North Carolina Guild is the equivalent, if you're an independent artist, is the equivalent of doing Revolt on South Beach.
Yes.
So you got to know what you're doing.
And that's with Mr. Alvertra Jones. Yes.
If you get them, you get the whole Southeast. You get everything from Texas East up to D.C.
Wow.
If you get the North Carolina Guild and you win them, you don't want America.
Awesome sauce. Awesome sauce. So, are there any other questions?
I want to meet these guys. I want to ask one question for them.
So sure, go right ahead. Go.
Y'all in the business. I was a PO.
Started though.
Y'all like,
Stop.